the betrayal and the breaking point. I never imagined that the man I once called my husband would one day become my biggest fear and my greatest lesson. When I said I do, I believed I was stepping into forever. A life built on trust, love, and partnership. But forever ended the day he decided to destroy me with his lies. At first, the changes were small. He became distant, quiet at dinner, late coming home. He'd leave his phone face down on the table, a habit he never had before. I told myself it was stress from work. He was ambitious, always chasing promotions, always talking about success. But something inside me, something quiet, started whispering, "Something's wrong." I ignored it. I wanted to believe that love could fix anything. Then one evening he came home drunk. Not the happy kind of drunk, the angry kind. He accused me of spying on him, of checking his messages. I hadn't. But his eyes were wild, dark with something I hadn't seen before. He slammed a chair, shouted things I couldn't even process, and left again. That night was the beginning of the end. Soon after, the rumors began. Friends stopped calling. Neighbors looked at me differently. And when I visited his mother one afternoon to ask why she hadn't answered my messages, she told me with cold eyes that she knew everything. Everything. I asked. Her reply shattered me. "You cheated on my son. You ruined his life. You're on drugs and you're turning paranoid. How could you?" I froze. Felt like my world tilted sideways. He had told them that I, the woman who loved him more than her own comfort, was some kind of monster. At first, I thought it was a misunderstanding. Maybe he was angry and things got twisted. But then I saw the messages. The lies were deliberate, detailed, cruel. He had told his entire family that I'd had an affair with our neighbor, that I'd fallen into drugs, that I was mentally unstable and trying to take his privacy away. He said I was jealous of his career and wanted to ruin his bond with our son. Every word was poison, designed to isolate me, to make me the villain in every story. And it worked. For years I was alone. Even my son, young and innocent, would ask questions that broke my heart. "Mommy, why does Daddy say you're sick? Why does Grandma cry when she talks about you?" I had no answer. I just held him close and whispered, "Mommy's fine, baby. Mommy loves you." But inside I was falling apart. People say emotional abuse doesn't leave scars, but it does. You just can't see them. It's the sleepless nights, the shaking hands when the phone rings, the way your heart races every time you hear footsteps near your door. He didn't just lie. He rewrote my entire life, made me a stranger in my own story. And for a long time, I let him, because I was scared, because I thought maybe if I stayed quiet it would all stop. It didn't. One night he came to my house, angry, drunk, shouting from outside the gate. My son was crying, hiding behind me. My boyfriend, who had been with me for a while now, gentle and patient, stepped out to calm him down. That's when my ex swung his fist. He hit him hard. Then he shouted, "You're poisoning my son against me. You'll pay for this." I called the police. He fled before they came, but that night I made a decision that would change everything. No more hiding. No more silence. No more pretending that he was just lost. I picked up my phone and called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. His mother. She answered, cautious, almost distant. I told her I needed just 10 minutes. No accusations, no anger, only truth. To my surprise, she agreed to meet. When she arrived, she looked nervous, even defensive. But I could see something in her eyes, the same confusion I once had. So I started from the beginning. I showed her the text messages, the threats, the voice notes. I showed her the police reports. And then, I played one of the recordings. Her son's voice, slurred and cruel, saying things no mother should ever have to hear from her child. She sat there frozen, her hand over her mouth. When it ended, tears filled her eyes. "He told us you were crazy," she whispered. "He said you made it all up." I just nodded. "That's what he wanted you to believe." Then I saw something I didn't expect. Her guilt. She reached across the table and held my hand. "I am so sorry," she said softly. "We should have asked. We should have known." Her daughter, my ex's sister, called the next day. She told me she had confronted him. Apparently, he broke down, half crying, half angry, saying I'd turned his family against him now. He said I was trying to destroy him because he got promoted and found happiness without me. But the truth was simple. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. I wanted my son to grow up without fear. That's when my ex-sister-in-law said something that gave me strength. "We'll help you. We'll testify if you need us to. You deserve justice." For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. That same week, I started collecting every piece of evidence I could. Every text, every call, every threat. My boyfriend's sister, a lawyer, offered to take the case. She told me, "This isn't just emotional abuse anymore. It's criminal intimidation." So we filed everything. Assault, trespassing, property damage. And I requested what I once thought I'd never have the courage to ask for: sole custody. But just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. One afternoon, my son's school called. They said someone was waiting outside, claiming to be his father. It was him. My boyfriend was already there to pick my son up, so he approached first. The moment my ex saw him, he started yelling loud enough for everyone to hear. He accused him of brainwashing my child, of stealing his family. He even screamed at our son, "You're choosing the traitor over your own father?" My son cried and clung to my boyfriend's arm. Security had to step in before it turned violent again. He left, shouting threats, saying he'd finish what he started. That night he called me. At first he sounded broken, sobbing, apologizing, saying he missed our family. And for a moment, a small, fragile part of me almost believed him. But then his voice changed. His words twisted into something darker. He screamed, cursed, and then threatened to end my life, describing in horrifying detail what he'd do to me, and how he'd make sure no one ever found me. What he didn't know was that I had already hit record. I listened to that recording later, my hands shaking, my heart numb. It didn't sound like the man I once loved. It sounded like a stranger, like someone consumed by his own lies. That night I filed another police report. And for the first time in a long time, I slept without guilt, because I knew that the next time he came for me, it wouldn't end with fear. It would end with justice. I wish I could say that was the end, but sometimes before peace comes, there's still one last storm. And mine was about to begin. People often say revenge is bitter. But when you've been pushed to the edge, when your name, your dignity, and your peace are ripped away, revenge doesn't feel bitter. Feels like survival. The night I recorded his threats, something inside me changed. For the first time I wasn't scared. I was angry, not the kind that destroys you, but the kind that wakes you up. I saved that recording. Then I sent it to my lawyer, my boyfriend's sister. Within hours, she replied, "We have everything we need. Let's finish this." The next morning, we filed for a restraining order. We added new charges: criminal intimidation, assault, and emotional damage. The police took my statement again, this time with witnesses and digital proof. Every threat, every message, every call documented. When my ex found out, he tried to call me again. This time I didn't answer. He messaged instead, "You can't destroy me. You'll regret this." But what he didn't know was that his own family was now standing beside me. A few days later, I met his mother and sister at the lawyer's office. They both looked heartbroken. His mother couldn't stop apologizing. She said she hadn't slept since she heard that recording. She even offered to testify, to tell the court everything she knew, every lie he'd told them about me. Her words felt like closure I never knew I needed. For years, she had looked at me like I was the villain. Now she looked at me like I was her daughter again. It didn't erase the past, but it started to heal something deep inside. Weeks later, the hearing began. He showed up, unshaven, angry, trying to look confident. But the moment the evidence started rolling in, I saw it. That flicker of panic in his eyes. The texts. The recordings. The witness statements from neighbors who had seen him drunk, yelling, and violent. And then the audio. My lawyer pressed play. The courtroom fell silent. His voice filled the air, screaming, threatening, describing in disgusting detail what he planned to do to me. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. The silence around me said it all. Even the judge looked disturbed. When it ended, the only sound was my ex breathing heavily, his face pale. My lawyer spoke calmly. Your Honor, this is not a man who deserves shared custody. This is a man who deserves accountability. The verdict didn't come that day, but when it finally did, I cried for hours. The court granted me sole custody of my son. A restraining order was issued immediately, and the charges, assault, trespassing, and intimidation, were all accepted for trial. He was ordered to attend mandatory therapy and was banned from contacting me or my child again. When the judge read those words, my knees went weak. Not from fear, from relief. For years he had controlled the narrative. Now the truth finally spoke louder than his lies. In the weeks that followed, life felt strange. Quiet, almost too quiet. I had spent so long living in chaos that peace felt unfamiliar. My son started sleeping through the night again. He began smiling, real smiles, the kind I hadn't seen in years. He'd sit with my boyfriend building Lego towers, asking questions about school, about life. And sometimes he'd ask about his dad. Mom, he said one evening, why did Daddy get so angry? I looked at him, this brave little soul who had seen too much. And I told him the truth, gently. Sometimes when people don't take care of their hearts, anger takes over. But we can't let that happen to us. We choose peace. He nodded. Then he hugged me and said, I'm glad we're safe now. That moment broke me and healed me at the same time. My ex tried to contact me one last time through a lawyer. He wanted to apologize, to explain himself. But I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Some stories don't need closure. They just need to end. When I look back now, I realize revenge isn't always about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about taking back the power they stole from you. Bit by bit, moment by moment, until you finally remember who you are. For so long I was his victim. Now, I'm my own hero. I've rebuilt everything he tried to break. My peace. My confidence. My family. Even my in-laws who once turned away now visit often. They bring gifts for my son. They apologize still, and I always tell them, it's okay. He fooled everyone, including me. Because forgiveness isn't weakness. It's proof that his darkness didn't destroy the light in me. These days I spend my mornings making coffee, listening to the birds outside, and reminding myself that no matter how broken love becomes, truth has a way of finding its voice. My boyfriend, the man who stood beside me through everything, is now part of our little family. He's gentle with my son, patient with me, and most importantly, he respects the silence that healing requires. Sometimes I catch myself smiling for no reason. That's when I know the storm is truly over. They say time heals all wounds, but I've learned it's not time. It's truth. It's standing up when fear tells you to stay down. It's choosing your peace over your pain, even when that means walking away from the people who once defined your life. So to anyone listening, if someone has ever made you feel powerless, if they've twisted your story, stolen your peace, or left you doubting your own worth, remember this. You don't need to fight with anger. Just fight with truth. Because in the end, truth always wins. I didn't take his life down. He did that himself. All I did was show the world what he tried so hard to hide. And that is what I call justice. When love turns into revenge, true story. If this story gave you chills, or made you believe again in the power of truth, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories where love, pain, and karma intertwine. Because sometimes, the best revenge is simply moving on and living well.